Why is India expanding its strategic oil reserves? Is it just because of the global tensions, or there is a specific reason for which we are doing this? Why does India or any other country need strategic oil reserves? What is exactly IEA, and why is India looking forward to its full membership? India is planning to expand its strategic oil reserves, and new sites have been proposed for the same. Is it just for energy security reasons, or we are also eyeing the IEA membership full time? Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and in today's session we will be understanding that why is India looking into expanding its oil reserves. We'll be also talking about how are oil reserves maintained and they are stored. What is the speciality, especially in the caverns or caves in which we store the oil. Furthermore, we'll be also talking about the need for such strategic oil reserves and what are they. So let us begin with understanding this expansion that we are talking about and what is the oil reserve that we hold as of now. So there are existing strategic reserves which are maintained and controlled by ISPRL, that is Indian Strategic Petroleum Reserves Limited. Now this is a special purpose vehicle which is made by the government of India, and it is totally a subsidiary under OIDB. Now this particular special purpose vehicle is responsible for not just maintaining them, also the control and strategically location and the maintenance of it overall. At present, we have three major strategic reserve sites. The first one is in Mangalore, the next is in Karnataka, Padur, and then we have Vizag, Andhra Pradesh. And total amount of reserve that we have maintained here is somewhere around 5.3 million metric tons. Now there are certain upcoming sites which are being established. For example, we have Chandikhol in Odisha. We have marked that, and another one we have in the Padur itself, Padur, Karnataka, which is phase 2 of Padur, which is being maintained. So this has already led to an enhancement from 5.3 to another 6.5. So there is an addition of 6.5 million metric tons. Now there has been an announcement about expanding this further, and there will be addition of 3 other sites. 2 have been clearly proposed. The first one be coming from Bikaner, Rajasthan. The speciality here is that the storage will happen not in a normal cavern rather than a salt cavern. We will be discussing about this, why a cavern facility or a cavern reserve is supposedly better and what are the advantages associated with it. A salt cavern gives it more durability and more protection altogether. The second site we have with us is Mangalore in Karnataka. Now, in totality, another almost 7 million metric ton comes from these 2 sites as well. There is another third site which is in talks, that is in Bina, Madhya Pradesh. However, there has been no finalization as of now on this. Now, before we move into the expansion, what is the current strategic reserve, how many days we need to hold it for? Before that, we need to understand that what exactly is a strategic oil reserve and why is it required. So especially in the context of India, before we move there, we are the third largest oil importer as well as consumer. And at present, for almost 80% of our needs, we are dependent on the imports, right? So if at any point of time, just imagine there is disruption in terms of the needs fulfillment, it can basically disrupt our economy, right? So if we do not want this disruption, what we will do? Whenever we think that there is going to be a problem of the supply, for example, when we knew that Maggi is not going to be available, as soon as we got to know, we stored loads of it. So it is the same idea but implemented at a very larger scale and in terms of needs. That was more related to just to our cravings, I can say, but herein it is not limited to that. It is an actual need of economy. Oil is responsible for functioning of the economy. So the machinery itself, the economic machinery runs on oil. So what is a strategic oil reserve or strategic petroleum reserve? Basically, it is a government controlled stockpile of crude oil, which is specially maintained for usage during emergencies. The emergency could be because of any reason. It could be because of a supply shock, it could be because of a crisis situation, war situation, or price increase where because of our import bill is getting bigger. So maybe during the price rise time we do not want to buy, and we have already predicted that, so we have a reserve with us. Right? So, Strategic Petroleum Reserve in case of our country, as I have mentioned, is maintained by ISPRL, and at present we are looking towards expansion of it. So, why does anybody need this particular strategic reserve? The first reason you have understood, we want to be secure. If there is a crisis situation, we would want the supply of energy to be not cut off and disrupt our economy altogether. So, basically we want to make sure that there is energy security. So, there is a proper buffer. Even if there is any supply disruption, the economy runs on its own rhythm. Second, price stabilization. So, it basically prevents any sort of market panic. Whenever you will find that the supply is getting low for whatsoever reason and the demand is higher, the prices will shoot. If the prices are shooting and we cannot ensure better supply, then stabilization is not possible. So, if supply is available at our end in form of reserves, we can easily stabilize the prices. Other than that, geopolitical shield in the terms of geopolitical tensions running around the world, especially if you talk about the nations which are involved, Iran, Russia, these are the nations which are oil suppliers. So, they actually have the power to disrupt the supply. They actually have the power to hamper the supply, and that is why if we want to reduce our vulnerability to the international oil supply and the politics associated with it, we need to have a reserve. And last reason in context of India, that why are we moving towards expansion of it, is because of International Energy Agency norms that it requires the members to maintain 90 days worth of oil reserves. So at present, India is not a member. As of now, India is only an associate in this particular organization, and as of now we maintain 75 days of approximate buffer. But if we are able to include the proposed sites in the strategic oil reserves in the coming years, we will be able to fulfill this particular norm, and as of now we are eyeing to get the full-time membership in this particular organization. Now my question to you, that why are we looking to associate with this agency? What are the reasons you can think of? You can put it down in the comment section. Because if you look at this agency, it was just made after the oil crisis in the 1970s, and majorly IEA has OECD countries. So what are the benefits do you think that we can have from joining this particular organization? Please put it down in the comment section. Now the purpose and importance we have established, and the very same purpose and importance significance is applicable to the Indian economy as well. And keeping in mind, this new policy has been brought out which talks about that we will focus on expansion of oil reserves. We will facilitate private participation in terms of oil strategic reserves. We will also allow commercial use, just like other major players, be it Japan, be it South Korea. And this is the first time that we are planning a salt cavern storage, which is in Bikaner. So it will give more durability, longer shelf life to the oil that we are planning to reserve. Now, one question that you should actually come in your mind, that why are we focusing on cavern storage? Is it because that we do not have proper facilities, or it is a decided, purposely made decision that we are going for cavern storage? Now let us understand that how cavern storage is rather an advantage, not a decision because we do not have the resources. When we talk about caverns, especially underground rock caverns, they provide better security because they are naturally shielded. So there is no artificial or man-made work required, and it is shielded from any sort of sabotage. It is shielded from aerial strike. It is shielded from natural disasters better than man-made structures. And it is definitely very important given India's dense population that we see and the fragile geography, varied geography that exists in India. Other than that, the efficiency and safety also comes along with it. The space saving is there. Then we have cost effectiveness as compared to when we are talking about above ground tanks in which oil reserves can be maintained. And it also reduces the evaporation losses and environmental risks which are associated. Furthermore, if we are good to go, then it also prevents leaks which are possible in such a scenario. And if we talk about this particular practice, it is definitely not an undermined one. It is one of the global best practices. This concept was brought in by Sweden as a wartime safeguard, when we are talking about as a wartime safeguard, and later it was followed by Japan, South Korea, Finland, and India adopted this in 1998, especially in the prime ministership of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, because there was a Gulf crisis in 1990 when the Gulf War happened, and after that we wanted to maintain a strategic reserve so that we are not exposed to the global vulnerabilities just like we were exposed in 1990s where we had a balance of payment crisis and then IMF had to bail us out. So we do not want that. So it was understood, foresightedness was there so that we are not in the same situation again. And at present, we are using underground rock caverns, and a better alternative is coming in Bikaner, Rajasthan, that is a salt cavern that gives better shelf life and more durability and safety to the oil reserve itself. Now, the next thing that you need to understand from this particular dimension, that what was the immediate need? We have more things to focus on, but why all of a sudden we have decided to expand our oil reserves? This is the time of utmost importance. First, we have to see it from two dimensions. First dimension is the global dimension, because at this particular time, the whole global order is in complete chaos. I'll just put it in a darker. It is in complete chaos. Be it the Middle East tension, if I'm talking about Israel-Hamas, be it Russia-Ukraine, and now Israel-Iran, even though they have agreed to ceasefire. But there was a time that Iran had passed a bill in its parliament where it talked about blocking the Strait of Hormuz. Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important choke points in terms of oil supply. So such things do keep cropping up, and this leads to volatility. There are many parties responsible globally for the price volatility that we see, and these global tensions that are present as of now, they are the major contributors. Apart from that, if we look at the OPEC plus cuts and the members, they are also no less, they for their own benefit keep restricting the supply so as to ensure good profits. Now, this will keep happening, and this has multiplied many folds, especially because of the tensions in the global order. Apart from that, we have to look at the domestic factors also, because that leaves India vulnerable, because as I've mentioned in the start only, that we import over 80% of our crude oil needs. We are the third largest importer as well as consumer, and we have high exposure to global oil market fluctuation. We are exporting 80% of our needs. So if the prices go up because of the reduced supply, our import bill is higher. It could lead to inflation, and it can topple off the macroeconomic indicators and put our overall economy in a bad place. We do not want that. If we do not want that, what do? We keep a reserve. So, global and domestic factors combined here are the reason that it is the appropriate time that we should definitely have a strategic reserve and enough to make us survive through a given crisis. Apart from that, India has also been looking towards a clear vision, strategic vision where we are making sure that we are not dependent on any specific country, any specific economy, and we are looking for a long-term stability here. So in this long-term stability, in the recent years, we have also diversified our sources in terms of crude. Even if you talk about Russia-Ukraine war, that was the time when the Western countries were placing sanctions on Russia. We used that opportunity to our advantage to get oil from them. So we have multiple resources, multiple sources, be it USA, Russia, Latin America, and we have focused on boosting the buffer stock through SPR expansion. When we are talking SPR expansion, the idea is to only boost the buffer stock so that our idea of self-reliance and readiness for any type of crisis or shock is very much in place. And one cherry on the cake is, if we are following through this SPR expansion, we are going to be eligible for the full-time IEA membership. So this is like an added advantage where India gets to be part of this particular organization full time, which will give us better efficiency, which will give us better protection, which will also facilitate us on the tables with the biggest oil suppliers and oil players, where we will be able to clearly voice it as well. So this is the whole idea behind SPR expansion. I hope you have a clarity on this particular topic. If you have any doubts, you can put it down in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.